Good evening, welcome back. It is Friday, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, how about that? But it is May 5th, Friday, and it's our birthday and event videos. So before we get into our birthdays, let's hop into our events. Only got two events, both happened at Talladega. One happened on this date in 1985, and Bill Elliott won the race. Not a surprise in 1985, but he did make up nearly 2 full laps under green flag conditions to do this. One can only imagine if he hadn't had brake problems or oil problems or whatever it was. Oil problems, oil line blew off. They thought he blew his engine. They came in, diagnosed it, got him back out there. But if he would have been running that fast without losing the laps, you know, having the whole full field almost 2 laps down, he probably would have set a new track record. As it were, there was a couple late cautions, and they ended up, not getting the race record, which at the time was held by Lenny Pond in 1978. But still a rather impressive feat, and of course, mind you, this was a few years before restrictor plates were introduced, so these cars were flying at Talladega. On this day in 2013, David Reagan leads a 1-2 sweep with his teammate David Gilliland for Front Row Motorsports, taking their first ever 1-2 finish. Of course, they had won. Was that their first? That was their first win, because they would also win a couple years later with Chris Buescher at Pocono and, of course, Michael McDowell at Daytona. So not only was this their first win, but their first 1-2 finish. That was such a really feel-good day for the sport. The little guy getting it done. Have a handful of birthdays today, so we'll rapid-fire through these and have a couple of them that we have some cards for you. Born on this date in 1987, former Xfinity Series developmental driver Drew Herring. I believe he's a spotter now. You guys may be able to know a little bit more about it than I do, but I do remember he was with JGR as a developmental driver. And I apologize for my coughing. Been outside working all day, getting that nice pollen sucked down into my lungs. Born on this date in 1964, sprint car legend Mark Kinzer. Born on this date in 1928. I probably have a couple cards for him, but I didn't really look real hard. Mr. Bob Wellborn, NASCAR pioneer. Born on this date in 1986, Jessica Frissen. So we do have a birthday girl today. Of course, that is the wife of Stuart Frissen. She ran the truck race at Knoxville last year and flipped, and Fox missed it, or NBC or somebody missed it. But anyway, Jessica Frissen, born on this date in 1986. So we do have 2 birthdays with cards. First one born on this date in 1997. Former, I believe he's the 2022, 21, 20, somewhere in there, ARCA Series champion, Mr. Bret Holmes. So this is literally the extent of my Bret Holmes card collection. Got a silver optic there, a couple regular optics, another silver optic, and regular optic, and then the orange pulsar optic. I may have a few more in the autograph or the relic stack, but those are the only base and low-end inserts that I have. And then born on this date in 1954, former Busch Series driver. He has 1 career series win in 1987, and was set to have a career year in 1988 before an injury sidelined him, Mr. Larry Pollard. Of course, Larry was on the Scene Vault podcast last year. I recommend you go back and listen to that. So he had a 3-part episode. There was one interview broken up into 3 volume stories, episodes. Sorry about that. My brain just froze and I couldn't think of the word. But Larry is the son-in-law of Harry Gant. And in 1988 at Charlotte during the World 600, Harry blew a tire and broke his leg. Larry, there you see from Victoria, British Columbia. 5554, we just discussed that. But Harry had broke his leg in the World 600. Well, the next week in the Busch Series race, Harry was scheduled to drive for Ed Whitaker. Well, Larry, who was driving for the Thomas brothers, their team shut down. Again, that's where I said he was going to have a career year. He was going to drive the 00 car. That was the car you wanted to drive in the Busch Series. You know, ask Sam Arden, Jimmy Hensley, Brett Bodine. It really elevated those guys. But Larry was driving it for the first part of the year. The team shut down, which he talks about in the podcast. Then he went to Dover, drove in place for Harry in the number 7 car, was having a pretty good run, and blew a tire. Now, mind you, this is in the heat of the Goodyear Hoosier tire war. So this is why we don't like seeing these. In that race, Larry did suffer a basilar skull fracture. He talks about the injury and his recovery. He did come back, run a few more races, but just didn't have the same results and the same drive. And like I said, the interview speaks volumes more than what I can bring it to life. But Larry did recover, and it's a very, very good episode. So anyway, that's our birthdays today. That's our events for the day. Make sure you come back tomorrow. No fast packs tomorrow. Like I said, that's a Monday through Friday thing, so we'll just have our regular morning rip and our afternoon birthdays and events. So thanks again for watching, and we will see you tomorrow.